Hello, everybody. Back with another episode of Chess with Lennox. And here I'm going to do a 19 move analysis and commentation of a game. Okay, let's get right in. So, this game is quite long, but I'm going to do the first 19 moves, tell you about the critical positions, and yeah. So, E4, C5, Sicilian, Knight f3, D6. This is basically trying to prevent e5 interfering the c5 pawn and getting the bishop out. d4, trying to control the center. C takes d4, knight takes d4. Knight f6, trying to counterattack the e4 pawn and not let him play c3, which is what sometimes happens. Knight c3, defending the pawn. a6, stopping either the knights or the bishop to go to b5. Bishop e3, e5. This looks like a bit of a weakening move because it makes the d6 pawn backward, but it is actually a move to make sure that this strong knight in the center has to move to a not so great square b3. If he goes to e2, it's blocking up all spaces, so it doesn't want to go there. So knight to b3 and bishop to e6. This move basically says that I'm going to develop my pieces and get a quick attack on the queen side. f3. Now this is a critical position. In this position, you have a few different options. You can either play, you can either try to attack on the king side, like with some sort of attack there, try to play b5 and strike here, or develop your pieces with knight c6, g6, and bishop g7. This is a critical position, so in the critical position, we must evaluate. Okay, in the evaluation, the kings are safe, as you guys can see. Materials equal. Um, White has slightly more development, but black has lots of possibility. White has slightly more space and slightly more piece activity. This position is a strategical position because there isn't very many major tactics going on. So we should make a plan and find the target. The plan the plan that I came up with is h5, h5. If he develops his bishop, then we'll play b5, trying to restrict his pieces even more. And depending on where he castles, we will attack there. So h5, b5, knight c6, and possibly even b4 and h5. What this does is it tries to attack on the queen side where white is probably going to be. And if it castles to the king side, we already have our pawn on h5, we go to h4, and we can support g5, which will attack the king. And yeah, so h5. Our target, currently the target, f3. That's a pawn that's a little too far advanced for him, and we are trying to attack it because it's a hook pawn. Queen d2. This is important because this is now showing us that white wants the castle kingside. So what do we do about that? Play knight to d7. This gets one of our last pieces developed and prepared to let the rook go to b8, where rook or can go to b8, so we can play b5. Support b5. Castles, as we expected, rook to c8. This is a half-open file, and we're lining it up with the king. And it's always good to put your rook on the same file as your opponent's king, because it gives you, well, not always, like, it's usually good to do that because you can often get a good attack. White moves his king over because he doesn't want to be pinned. And we developed our last piece, bishop to e7. This is important because development is necessary in all openings and all chess moves. Now, g3. This is basically saying we are going to play f4 and strike in the center. b5. getting ready to try and rip open the white king. A4. This is a very critical position. Why, you may ask? This is critical because we have a very common decision. It's called stay, push, capture. And let's analyze all first. Okay, so let's start with stay. The only real way to defend this pawn would be like with the rook. But as you can see, that's not very good because he will capture us and we do not have enough material to defend. So stay is just not an option. Push. Push is also not a good move because once the knight moves away, we basically shut down our own attack, and that's just not something we want. So that leads us to it must be capture. This is good because it helps try and open up the A file on the king, and if we can eventually if we can trade off the A6 pawn, then we will have a really strong attack on the king. Also, since this is a critical position, we must evaluate. Okay, let's start with White king is currently safe for the moment, though has a weak pawn structure, and black king is currently safe for the moment, but it is in the center, so it's not in an ideal place. Second, material is equal. Yes, the material is equal, but black's pawn structure is a little bit shaky with a couple pawns that are a little bit by themselves. Piece activity. Black's pieces are a little huddled up with chances of attack, but aren't ready yet to advance to position. And white has some pieces that are already trying to attack. Okay, now let's see what happens if they capture. Also, the plan would be captures and possibly to try to get the rook to the B to this newly open B file, or to castle and get our king safe. I think that castles is better to get our king safe because it also allows our H8 rook to get into the game. It may look like this H5 pawn's weak, but we have a knight and it's actually stopping white's attack on our king. So after we take, and knight takes castle. Okay, this was critical. This was a really important thing. We just baited him basically to take our weak pawn. Because what this allows us to do is play bishop to and rook to A8, which basically opens up this entire file and gives us a great attack on their pieces. Bishop to B5. This move is a retreating move to try and defend the A4 knight and also retreat the bishop. So in this position, we play queen B8 and try and kick the bishop once again so we can try to win the knight. And black basically has three moves that he could play, and white four moves he could play. Queen D3, Queen E2, Bishop takes D7, and Bishop C6. We could immediately eliminate Bishop takes D7 because this knight is not very good, and this bishop is sort of good. And if we can, and that basically just helps us reroute this bishop to a even more active square, and it also gives us the bishop pair. So that's not a good move. Bishop C6 isn't a very good move either because after rook to because it's attacking the rook, but after rook to A6, the bishop's attacked again, and it must trade for the knight. Queen D3 is not very good because it is basically stopping this rook on D1 from attacking our D6 pawn, which is backward and a little bit weak. So the only move, Queen D2. So now in this position, we get our final rook into the game, putting pressure on the C2 square, C2 pawn. Okay, now we play rook. They play rook to D2, defending it, and it gives a totally free move. And now we have to evaluate. So here, both of the kings are well. White's king is not safe because it has a lot of pieces bearing down on it. As you can see, this queen is bearing down this way. This rook is going down this way. The other rook is going down this way. This bishop is slicing him up on this diagonal. Yeah, those are three big pieces that are attacking a well-defended king, but this is just not an easy position to defend for white. On the other hand, white has not even gotten his attack on our king started, and it's just not good for him. He can't. He's just not attacking us very well. Okay, so we got that piece activity. White's pieces are slightly better than us, but we do have a lot of potential to get our pieces in. But we just need to get this piece, and this piece active. This I think that actually the knight on f6 should stay there because that piece needs to be guarding the h5 pawn and help safeguard the king. Okay. So yeah. So in this position, what is one of White's biggest assets? One of White's biggest assets is the knight on a4. This knight on a4 is basically stopping our entire army from attacking the king. So that would be our target. Also, what could possibly be a plan? A possible plan could be to sacrifice on the knight. When the bishop takes back, pile on that bishop, get rid of this knight on b3, and try and checkmate the king. An idea is if we can eventually get our rook and queen lined up on this file, and with this knight out of the way, we can play a very nice combination. This combination starts with rook to a1 check, knight takes a1, queen to a2 check, king to c1, and queen takes a1 checkmate. So in order to do this, we must play rook takes a4. This is a good move because it removes one of the greatest defenders of the king and opens up the file even more. White has to take back, and here we play bishop c4, attacking the queen, preparing to get all our pieces to attack that bishop and checkmate the king. I hope you have enjoyed this video of Chess with Lennox. Hope you learned a lot from this game, and stay tuned because a couple more videos will be coming about these two games. Lennox is peacing out. Bye. Subscribe, like the video. Lennox out.